Hi, everybody. It's Tyler here at the Mall of America Signature event. We're checking in from Colorado. It's after hours 1069A. This team has been performing very, very well. I think ranked third as we're interviewing right now. Congratulations after our first main day here at competition. A lot of great things, though, that's making this robot come together. This lift mechanism has been super effective throughout the whole way. And this is one of the few teams I've seen that are actually capable and able to rotate the pins as well, which I think has been very effective in your competition gameplay. Obviously, very aesthetically pleasing robot, but a lot of great other things to go into this. We're going to be talking about how they're getting all their macros correct for this. We'll be looking at one of their loggers that they use to get more data on that as well, too. And just overall, this competition robot has just been absolutely lights out. So I can't wait to learn more about this team and showcase them off here on Pits and Parts. Hey everyone, fun coverage of VEX content may be coming to an end. If you're a business or organization that would benefit from reaching a global robotics audience, or even if you're an EP of a VEX event, please head over to funroboticsnetwork.com/partner to get more information on how to get involved. You can also directly support Fun through YouTube Join and get early access to scheduled content. Every bit keeps our cameras in your pits, and we'll have full details out in a separate video, but I really want to wish all the teams the best at Override. We really hope to see you there. Thanks for listening. Let's jump right into this robot here, talk about some of the cool mechanisms, especially this overall arm, this cascade lift that you're doing, and I love this claw overall too. So talk to me more about the composition of it and how it's working out for you.
Yeah, so for our lifting mechanism, we have like 2 or 3 separate parts. To start out, we have a cascade. This lets us lift our chain bar function up, and that's our like what we call an active chain bar. And then we're also able to move the chain bar with our macros, so we can go to different scoring heights. And then the other part I like to show is our active part. We had a lot of questions about it. We power the 2-bar lift mechanism with one 11-watt motor, and then we power the chain and the claw flipping with a 5.5. And what we do is we actually just spin the mounting point for the chain on our chain bar, and it spins the chain on the claw. And it looks like this. It is able to flip over pins and cups pretty efficiently, and it's been working for us really well today. So we're able to score with cup down, pin up, and pin down, cup up, which has been super helpful if in case we like drop one cup onto a stack or drop only a pin, because then we're able to like kind of pivot how we're scoring. Yeah.
And I haven't seen, I was a little surprised at them coming in the mall. I thought a lot more teams would have something like this. Does it surprise you not to see more teams be able to articulate and flip pins?
Yeah, honestly, we kind of really prioritized it. We really wanted a way to be able to score on both sides. It makes us a lot more versatile, and I'm honestly super surprised that there hasn't been that many teams that are able to do it. And I think that's kind of a downfall in some robots, because if they only score a cup, then they have to switch to a different tower or score only a pin.
And I'm not sure if this is a Rohit question or not, but I noticed when your arm is moving, obviously, when you have that many different degrees of motion and stuff, it can be very difficult to either backdrive or make sure that the robot is keeping its PID position, that sort of thing. What are you guys doing to make sure that you're able to get the arm in the right position at all times? Yeah, go ahead, Rohit.
Yeah, so that kind of gets into our macros. So
Sure.
I think there's kind of 2 parts to that question. One is how we hold it, and that we have individual PIDs running for each individual component. So the chain bar, and the cascade each have their own PID that we use to control it. Now, for actually the buttons that Elliot uses to move it, those get a bit more complicated. So this robot has a ton of constraints. So for example, we can't move the chain bar to these standoffs or else it'll bounce off and then bad things will happen. Or when we're coming out of loading to scoring, we have to lift up above this intake pulley right here, and that has to move the cascade, then move the chain bar, then move the cascade. So there's a lot we have to get right with this, and we've sequenced it using a state machine. So we can sequence through different states, and once the lift reaches a state, we can move on to the next state. So it's very sequential. Now, the other issue we found was controlling the chain bar. So the chain bar is a pretty difficult subsystem control for 2 reasons. One, it has to fight against gravity because it's pivoting around nearly 360 degrees. And the other is it has a lot of static friction we found because it's a fairly heavy mechanism to be powered so quickly. And the way we overcame this was using feed forward instead of PID. So PID is pretty great for simple control, but when you want really smooth control for such a difficult piece of machinery to control, we found that using acceleration, smooth velocity profiles at the top, and then a deceleration ramp worked really well for not getting it to overshoot and getting quick motion while also being safe and not knocking towers over.
Before we go into your logger, can we just go through what a couple of your different states look like and maybe just describe that to us?
Yeah, honestly, Elliot, I think you can talk about this.
Yeah. So to start, we have our three different scoring states I showed. There's kind of our lowest one, and then a medium one here. Our motor's a bit overheated. We just came out of match, and then we have a higher one up here. And then we're also able to move our cascade at any point there. And then our other main state is our match loading state, which is in the front, so we can match load front to back. And that's been working super well for us. The other thing that kind of cycles us into our roller mechs in a bit, we also have a other state for our chain bar to be here, so our roller mechs are in a position that they're actually able to roll, instead of being in the back like they would be here when they're pulled in.
Makes sense. So I want to jump in real ahead and talk about this logger that you have. How are you analyzing some of this data to debug what you're doing in terms of either your macros or anything else on your robot?
Absolutely. So there's a lot to debug. We run a pretty complicated stack for the robot movement itself. And as I mentioned earlier, the lift controls are not the easiest to debug. So what we implemented is something called a cyclic logger. So the brain has pretty limited memory. So we have to be careful not to overload any of that. So for interview and CompStat classes, we're using something called a linked list that stores each bit of data, so we don't ever overflow when we have too many log requests coming in. And the second part of that is actually analyzing the logs. So what we've done is we've compiled a ton of matplotlib scripts. As you can see here, this is one for the lift that we can use and run on new logs from the robot to debug where the lift is meant to be, where the lift actually is, and what voltage we're commanding the lift at. So this has been super helpful, and we can see, oh, the lift is actually reeling here, commanding max voltage, it's not moving, so maybe it's something mechanical. And we've been able to debug a ton of issues that way, both on the lift and on a robot itself.
Lots of great data that's coming through on this robot here. So I hope you at home are learning some great stuff, not only from this team, but things that you can implement on your robot here too. Let's pass over to Sam, talk about how your toggle mechs are working. You guys are taking a little bit of a unique approach. I know you got that really cool one shot as well too. So I'd love to learn more about what's all gone into that.
Yeah, of course. So this game has a lot to do with toggles. The toggles can swing the tide of the match with really huge point swings, as we've seen. So we have two really effective passive toggle mechanisms that flip out when the chain bar is at this certain point in the macro that Elliot has. And with them, we are able to ram the toggle, and when we hit them with both of the passive mechs, we can actually spin the toggle twice, which is really efficient for getting it to where we want to as fast as possible, and makes us really effective with toggle play. And with the one shot, we start the match with it on our cascade. So all we do is lift the cascade, and then it flips out just like that. And that allows it to catch onto the toggle and then pull it back when we drive away, which flips it to the correct color, which we need to be really effective in fast autons.
Last thing I want to ask you is you guys have played now a full day here at Mall. What are some things that maybe surprised you in Override, coming to this competition that you're like, hey, this isn't quite how I expected the game would be played, or anything like that maybe pops in your mind?
I think the biggest thing that's surprising is how little teams are stacking with how much rollers are being played, or toggles are being played. They are such a big part of the game, and I expected to see so many more stacks throughout the field, and we only see like one or two, and everything else is just toggle play for like 50 seconds.
We'll see how this game continues to implement throughout the rest of the season, but after hours, I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us more about your robot and team, and congratulations on your success so far. We'll see how you do here at Mall, and can't wait to catch you throughout the rest of the season. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Help us achieve our next goal by being one of the 50,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on all future fun content.